All right, hello everyone. Welcome to round number 4 of our 7th newcomers tournament. This time we've got MattyRasker, Ryak, Swkoll, and BillBoBeBagens. We're going to call probably just Bill for the duration of this match. Philithanic here with me once again. I've immediately spotted that combo tiles are here and prices aren't fun.
Yeah, those combo tiles right there, a decent spot to just throw down a robot and go to town. You got some ice for water to the north, or water just down here next to this geotherm to the left. Decent scavenger spot right next to the colony. Plenty of close by aluminum and water.
That
going
was
to take
fast.
it for 34. I think there's enough good spots that 34 is a little bit of an overpaying for it. I was going to say that scientist spot there is interesting, but only has the 2 iron.
Yeah, but steel's kind of cheap. Maybe if he had positioned it just slightly differently so that you could slant drill a triangle. Yeah, that kind of thing. Maybe I would have liked it a little bit better. I like it overall. Just like maybe a small optimization, reposition yourself just a hair so you can have that triangle later on.
Ryan's found overall perfectly fine as well.
Yeah, that's
expansive right here next to some steel, no underground nukes, plenty of room to expand to the left and right. A little bit constrained, but should be fine long term. Going to get some high aluminum, and then Bilbo going for the expansive, far away from the iron, and going for an HQ1 geotherm when power is low.
Well, 40. There's an office, but yeah, I'm just trying to justify it. Don't go HQ level 1 geotherm unless you're Cubit, guys. He can do it. I don't know why he can.
Not anymore, he can't.
Okay, not anymore. Fair enough. Fair enough. But look, geotherms on HQ1, even as an expansive player, once again, it's about how much of a roadblock that is to get to the next HQ level. So if we go over here and we look at the cost of this geotherm, 40 aluminum, 60 steel. Compare that to the cost of an upgrade. 80 aluminum, 80 steel. You're using half of your upgrade material just to build this building that's not even going to make money for quite a while because it takes 40 seconds to build. You have to fly it on out there in the first place. You're taking on debt the whole time. Eventually you'll get it constructed, but think about how much money it has to make before it's paid for itself, and only after that point does it become profitable. That's
so I'm going to disagree with the comment in my chat that scavenger's bad because glass is high. Sure, glass started higher than electronics, but it is a machine colony shop. Sorry, Russians with the machine shop, so that electronics is going to catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah, not only is electronics going to catch up quickly, but high are good for scavengers. They usually are some of the better equipped colonies to make money at the start of the game.
Yeah, high, and it's a high next to a medium. Next to another medium without nukes, you really can't. The only way this would be a better found is if the carbon wasn't in a crater and you could found right next to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And glass
it's a really
half,
good scavenger spot, I think. I'll agree with you there.
But I mean, it's still
against the chat.
Quite a decent one. Speaking of upgrades, Swkoll over here, already HQ3, been on HQ3 for a while now. We're moving into some double wind turbines. Maybe not anticipating that Bilbo, or noticing that Bilbo went for an HQ1 geotherm.
Yeah, I don't mind the double wind turbine that much anymore.
No.
Costs. He needs to be concerned about debt, too.
Yeah.
Because he need to take on 34,000 in order to get that spot.
Entertainment 20%, 2 expansives and a scientist. This is worth way more than $9,000. Thank you. Keep bidding it up.
I could see this, 16 pretty easily, I think, or so. You have to put the Pleasure Dome down after, which kind of reduces the value of the tile to me in some ways, because it's a hefty commitment. But
mid to upper teens right there.
Yeah. That should be fine. I'm a little bit worried about taking it for that much debt, and he was already in so much debt. But if he can keep up these upgrades, as long as he can outpace the electronics price increasing, he'll still be okay.
Right, so
his bond rating won't suffer too much.
HQ3 as well, moving into some glass kilns, solar condensers, and a pair of steel mills. Good job identifying that steel's cheap, so you don't need more than a pair. Yeah. Also going into a pair of greenhouse farms.
That was potentially a mistake out of Swkoll this game. Maybe a bit excessive on the steel mills over here.
Yeah.
He's trying to move into a little more power, knocking that out. That's fine. But he did manage to get to the upgrade to 4. So even though he has almost 60,000 debt, 56,000 right now, paying off a little bit at a time, he's still at bond rating A, so the interest rate isn't going to be too bad. So he's still moving quickly enough that he's okay with the amount of debt he took at the start of this game.
Yeah. So Matt over here is kind of lagging behind an HQ2 a little bit. Has a single HQ2 wind turbine, which I'm not really a fan of. That would have been better to go into another greenhouse farm. I'm also not a huge fan of the placement of these greenhouse farms. Because at HQ2, I'd rather have them in a triangle so you can get that money upgrade to HQ3. Long term, that's fine if this wind turbine wasn't over here, because then you could build wind turbines right next to this cliff face.
But I mean, once again, it's kind of interesting. Matty has made the same mistake twice this game, where he set up a position where he has a pair that cannot make a triangle. It's a bit sad, but just a little thing to work on. It's those little details.
Pairs are fine when you're HQ2, HQ3. You want to be in triangles once you get to HQ4, HQ5 as often as possible.
Yeah.
There are a lot of exceptions to that rule, but pairs are good, triangles are better most of the time. It's just mostly that simple. So Ryak HQ4, Bilbo over here HQ3 has more cash than Matty does, so that's good. Unfortunately, going for the black magic tiles right now has this greenhouse farm that is losing money but isn't auto-offed.
New building is available for
going to double down on that bet by placing a second one, so as a pair they'll only lose negative $2 a second instead of a
$2
single
boy.
28.
I'm curious how these players are going to value this. And optimization centers are usually the most expensive auctions in high-level games, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
These things can really make your game.
So right now, I'm perfectly okay with 28, 32. If you're going to use it, fine. If it's going to sit here, then not worth it.
That's fair. That's fair. As long as it sees activity, Bilbo to have picked up for the rest of this game. But as you can see already, it's kind of just sitting idle at the moment. There are definitely useful things he could be doing with this. He could be improving his water production in particular.
Yes.
Sounds really, really nice right now to me. And that's he's going to need to start using this building quickly. Otherwise, it was just cash down the drain, because now he's not making no chance of making money on power until he gets a lot more of it up.
Yeah, but anyway, so back to the auto off. If you bought Offworld Trading Company, 6 months ago, then your default, I don't think, is auto off. I think the default now is to have auto off checked on if you bought it recently.
I think so, yeah.
But if not, you do want to turn on auto supply and auto off in the game options. Good players who were convinced that both of those options were bad have since changed their mind.
I haven't. I hate auto off. It's bad. Don't use it.
Zoltar's wrong. You shouldn't listen to him.
Look. All new players should use auto off. I think at the very, very high level of play, it's dangerous. But, only at the highest
More in 1v1s and FFAs would be my...
Yes. I do like this adrenaline boost, though. This is nice.
It's a nice one. I like it. $245 per tile.
Like, that's the kind of thing that can help pull Matty back into this. Ryak and Swkoll have been racing through upgrades this game, which is particularly impressive to me that Ryak has pulled it off. I think the mutiny on this Pleasure Dome has helped out a lot. It was a very nice Pleasure Dome. You'll let Swkoll pay for it, and then you just mutiny it right on away. That's certainly a nice little move. Also, Ryak has just been in pretty good markets this whole time. He was willing to go into ice for his water. I don't even know if that was necessary, given you've got some pumps not too far away, potentially. But he's just been making some nice money, taking advantage of the little errors in production other people have been making this game.
Yeah, I definitely would have
quite well for him.
Would have preferred a triangle there. Now, one error that everyone's been making in this game, especially Ryak and Swkoll, is HQ5, and look how cheap the black market is.
It is. It's stupid cheap. I mean, 2K circuit overloads And I've seen attacks happening on these wind turbines and using EMPs to get it done. And look at that. I mean, power surges, circuit overloads, EMPs, adrenaline boost, mutinies, and network viruses. And on top of that, you got spies and holograms. It's such a fun black market to play with this game. I want to see it being used a little bit more.
Right, and so this is definitely... So black market in an FFA isn't a pure zero-sum game like in a 1v1. But one thing, if you're Matty or Bilbo, is start alternating who of the leaders you hit on the black market, and they'll think that each other's hitting them, and they'll start a nice black market war, and that might give you some time to catch up.
That's true. Or they'll just make them mad, and then they'll make mistakes because they're mad.
Because they're tilted.
Exactly. You can't ever... That's important. Trust me, I would know.
Yep.
You gotta get after your player. You gotta get after your opponents and just upset them a little bit here, a little bit there, and then they won't think as straight. And it turns out, if you can get your opponent a little bit on tilt in Offworld, well, it makes it a lot easier game. Swkoll going into Ryak. This should not work.
No, it should not work. I want to point out that Bilbo is, fix the farms issue, but still 2 black magic tiles. These should either be both chemical refineries or both glass kilns, but they're not making that much money to begin with, and water's so cheap.
They're not making that much money to begin with. If they're a pair, though, like especially a pair of glass kilns, it's pretty good to me. Just because when the adjacency and the efficiency bonuses start kicking in, like that glass price is high.
65 once the adjacency bonus gets in. But think about how much money you can be making with 2 farms next to each other and water at 6. You buy like 200 of water at 6, you put down a pair of farms, you're rolling in the money. Or a pair of electrolysis reactors, right? Or a triangle.
No. Yeah, you're right. I'm just saying. Alright, so Ryak has fully defended himself. He can go ahead and play it safe on that front. I said Ryak does have this slight problem.
Debt.
That he's had a lot of debt, and power's not particularly expensive. So even though he has a significant surplus of it, it's not really doing anything to help him out because he's not making any food right now. His farms are even frozen. That's going to hurt. And he wasn't making any fuel or oxygen. So while he was in profitable markets, they were not life support markets. So this is when it can get kind of dangerous. You need to be careful that you keep your debt in check while you're making all that money. Sometimes you have to manually pay that down, and that can be okay as long as you were making that money because you were in life support markets.
You'll need to pay that down to 146 before the interest tick comes here. With the buildings back on, it's starting to auto-pay, but I'm not sure from power, I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
Well, I don't mind what Ryak's doing right now, to be honest. Buying up the rest of it. Getting it while it's cheap, then he can pay down some debt and get to a better position.
As long
as
as
stock price will go up.
Pay down the debt before the interest tick hits.
Yeah, he's got time. He
does. 42. There's an adrenaline boost. Matty. On the steel mills, and here's where we see the problem of limiting yourself to a pair of steel mills that we've been talked about right at the beginning of the game.
Now, obviously, even with a slight reposition alone, that would not have fixed it. It would have required something like slant drilling to come out in order to set up a position where you could have a full triangle. But even so, even if you weren't slant drilling and having iron provided to all of them, buy iron when steel's this expensive and iron is this cheap. Like, that's okay. Well, you don't have to provide all your own resources as a scientist.
Yeah. Here we see the financial instruments mistake.
Oh, good. I love that mistake. It's my favorite mistake. Matty goes in and picks up financial instruments. Yeah.
I have an idea for financial instruments, which I will run past you at the end of the tournament, which might fix it.
Sounds good. I'd love to hear it.
I just got a moment of inspiration.
And then yell at Soren. And be like, Soren, fix it. Soren will be like, stop bothering me. I don't think that's actually happened yet. I just always anticipate it coming down. Carbon scrubbing is going to be coming out from
this adrenaline boost. This is lovely.
Ooh, that hurts to see if you're somebody else.
Come on,
now,
power surges are so cheap.
Yeah, power surge at 4.5, EMP's at 6. There's no excuse for letting this happen. All 3 players now have black market open and available to shut this down. And this is the kind of thing that feels so good to EMP. Your opponent gets so excited, I'm going to make so much money, it's going to be so good. Shut it down.
You'll see good players forgoing these types of adrenaline boosts just because they're expecting the EMP.
The EMP to come down, exactly.
Well, there's the power surge, but on the wrong side. To be fair, most of the adrenaline boost is done anyway, but power's so cheap.
No. That's not fair. Power's so cheap.
Yeah, I was starting to correct myself.
Power's so cheap. I know you were. Power's so cheap. Like, and there are circuit overloads on the market. Like, that's... Right? Power's so cheap, so it's just, like, not a good hit even regardless of the adrenaline boost. And there are circuit overloads. If you want to shut down power, use the circuit overload. It's cheaper. That's the only thing it's good for.
Alright, I have a question for you.
What's
This
that?
is a rhetorical one, but why does Matt have 2 chemical refineries all the way over there? There's no answer other than that's not a good decision.
Okay, here's my explanation. It's not a good decision. Yeah, it's not a good decision. But the only thing I can come up with, because I used to do this 3 years ago, literally 3 years ago now, was I would position my buildings away from my base specifically and then pick up teleportation so that I could avoid getting hit by black market. Because back then everybody was so bad at Offworld Trading Company, it literally made it impossible to lose the game for me at that stage.
Yep.
But I used to do that in order to avoid black market hits, because that was also a time when like EMPs and power surges were always available, right? Both of them for everybody.
Oh,
because there were only like
that's a bit
7 black
different
market
from
hits.
release.
Yeah, exactly, right? So back then, I would position my buildings everywhere away from my base so that I couldn't get hit by black market too badly at any given time. That is the only explanation I can see.
Unfortunately, Matty picked up financial instruments first, and then carbon scrubbing.
Yeah,
and then
he doesn't have teleportation.
Let teleportation go.
You know, so it's just like, I mean, he has carbon scrubbing though. I think Swkoll might have had teleportation before.
Maybe
Matty
I don't
even.
remember how that was gone. Maybe somebody in chat can, with a better eagle eye.
I think that was the case.
Correct us, but Swkoll over here is in a hologrammed Offworld that has been up there for a while. We should show the viewers what the Offworld markets are making. 30k a launch, so decent money. Pretty decent.
Yeah, I would like to see an optimization. Just because Swkoll has had a tile ridiculous period of time. He's not going to put a patent lab there at this point, probably, because he should have most of the patents he wants by now. And so just drop that optimization center there and start optimizing some of these markets that you expect to be launching, just to make sure that you're going to be set. Maybe optimize glass a little bit, maybe optimize oxygen a little bit. You know, it could be good.
And switch this line of wind turbines into some electrolysis reactors. A, it makes good money. B, you're launching oxygen, and that's just feeding money into other players' pockets.
Offworld shipment launched.
It's true. It's true.
Get all the
Ryak
That
has
is
an
a
Offworld
dangerous
up.
thing to be doing.
market is
Almost
online.
45%.
Speaking of money into other players' pockets, look at Matty's electrolysis reactors right now. Those adrenaline boosts, man.
440. It's pretty good.
I do want to point out, I think Matty is
You just
stock
broke up
market
there.
right now. I do apologize. I think Matty in the stock market is having some problems.
Yeah, they don't really
Right now.
have a way to close that attack. Like,
Yeah,
they're
like
missing a
Bilbo,
closer.
one of the things Bilbo has done this whole game is debt gone. Bilbo just doesn't have debt, right? He's constantly been making life support and power, so he just doesn't have any debt. And so Matty, I don't like this attack because he could be going after Swkoll and like punishing Swkoll for having gone after Ryak. That seems like it might be more successful this game than trying to get a buy of his own.
Bilbo's sitting here on 4 claims that he could use. So really should put those claims down for... I mean, right now you almost can't go wrong by picking up the building.
Yeah.
Prices are
Farm
so
triangle.
high. Farm triangle would be a good idea.
Like just to start things off. Maybe add a couple electronics, maybe just throw down some advanced
Buildings other than the Offworld. There's an optimization center and does have...
steel triangle. Shoot.
Yeah, that was from the auction. Only got... Well, has 5
What does he have?
optimizations, so...
That's something.
It's something.
It could be worse.
Could be worse. Could be
It's
better.
It could be better, but you know, at least it's seen some use this game. So I'll give it that.
Yeah, but those 4 claims definitely need to go down before you build an Offworld. Even in 1 more steel for a steel triangle, because steel's still cheap, sure. Expensive, get half cost Offworld, but still 98 to put down an Offworld.
Yeah, I think one of the
expansive.
big things that's happening here is Bilbo, like, he didn't have any iron near him, and that's really been hurting him this game. He just doesn't have iron production, so it's kind of like kept him from being able to make steel as successfully. If other players keep that iron price high on him, which it was until just a moment ago. Then it can be dangerous
Yeah.
for him to get the triple steel mill down. Swkoll getting pretty close to this buy here, although he is...
Offworld
Get that
market is
reduces
assembled.
cash by about 100,000.
Fortune awaits.
So the buy is once again much further away.
Yeah, the problem is that ryak doesn't really have any sort of response
Anything.
lined up. I mean, they're
Yeah,
they're
I've
making
noticed.
the second best position in terms of cash on hand. Though Matty doesn't quite have that much cash tied up in stock, but at least ryak has this one off-world. But going against two off-worlds and a pleasure dome and an optimization center, ryak doing actually quite well in those optimizations. Maybe,
Launch affirmative. What a payout.
to be fair, okay, I was going to say maybe too far into perfect, but I haven't got a feel for the new optimizations yet. So maybe you have a better feel for whether perfect is useful or not.
I mean, I don't mind perfect farms if you're making food.
That is true.
Engineers have advanced
That's-
the production.
That's just the kind of this small error here, in my opinion.
These
You
two
gotta
metal
kind of making
mines should be food or something.
Yeah. There should be food here somewhere because we've bothered to get perfect farms, and maybe that's the indicator that maybe perfect weren't the correct decision in this game, right? Food was overproduced so heavily that he had to move out of them. That's not a position you want to be in. Swkoll's got the cash. He would have to cancel out of stuff, I assume, so I expect we're not going to see the buy for another like 30 seconds here or something.
Yeah, probably gonna wait
At
for
least.
both of those off-world launches to go
Yeah.
off. No reason not to
No.
wait that long.
I want to point out, by the way, another serious error Matty made.
Mhm.
It's like a classic error in the stock market that you see. Matty was in a position where he was pretty far up on BillBoBeBagens, and he was going to be in a spot where he was going to be able to get to that buy first. But instead of just like saving up cash and getting to the buy and letting Bilbo buy his stock, Matty instead bought up as much of his stock as he possibly could, his own stock. That just extends the game longer, and Matty's in a position where he's behind. He needs the time to this buy to be very short. His goal, in order to potentially win this game and have an advantage against Swkoll, is for ryak to not buy stock into Swkoll. Ryak was nice. Ryak made that happen. So that gives Matty a chance. So Matty buys as much stock in Bilbo as he can, leaves his stock open, lets Bilbo acquire that stock for him, then purchases Bilbo, and he's in a spot where he has his own stock fully secured and Bilbo fully secured, and he has a small advantage in that way over Swkoll. By buying up his own stock, he's basically just throwing money in a fire pit.
Yeah, because Bilbo's going to purchase two
anyway.
ticks there, right? If this was a 1v1 and Matty had the long-term advantage, which isn't obvious since Bilbo has that off-world,
And is expensive.
and is expansive, but still needs to put down 2 claims. Come on, Bilbo.
Yeah.
But in that case, that
Then-
Matty had the
then
long-term
maybe, yeah,
advantage,
sure.
it'd be fine. But this case, there isn't the long-term advantage, because Swkoll has it with the sub.
Yeah, exactly. Swkoll has a subsidiary secured already, and on top of that, by making it difficult to acquire, Matty simply opened up the opportunity for Swkoll to get some of it before Matty had even potentially made a purchase on Bill. It looks like he may not even get to at this point. But he let Swkoll get some of it ahead of time, and it'd be much better if Bilbo simply had all of it, held on to all of it the entire time, and kept Swkoll out of that market until Matty's price had potentially risen from a purchase onto Bilbo. I want to point out, when you're in Bilbo's position, you're in a spot when you're kind of like racing for the buy and potentially going to get bought out, probably not a great idea to build.
Build
Going to take
another
at
off-world.
least 3 or 4 minutes to make its money back.
Yeah, well, it's 73 with... Yeah. There's not even a well. Just, yeah.
A minute to build, a minute to launch, a minute to launch, a minute to... That's... Yeah.
Yep. The question right now is, if you're Swkoll, who do you
Which
buy?
one do you buy? Yeah, who do you buy indeed? I probably would say nobody. Why bother?
True.
You know, just don't.
I
Just
don't
sit.
think that's going to happen, but just sitting here and waiting for them to kill each other and then you just swoop in and finish the game is a perfectly valid strategy.
Sold.
If one of them starts buying into you, all right, I'll buy that one.
Then buy
You know,
that
see
version.
which one turns into a threat.
Well, they're going to tip the scales in Matty's favor by mutinying things. Matty's going to
Yeah.
mutiny a wind turbine.
It really doesn't matter which direction you're tipping the scales. If you're closer they are to each other, so... Alright, well, Matty's gonna make the decision easy, isn't he?
Yep. Buy into Matty. Win the game.
Oh, Swkoll, come on.
You don't need to do
Come on,
that.
Swkoll. Come on, Swkoll. Come on. This is like the exact same error that with way less severe consequences, because all it's going to do is cost, well, I don't know if it's less severe consequences, because it's going to cost an extra, 5 minutes of Swkoll's life now to finish up this game. Yeah. That's probably not worth it. I would rather have 5 minutes of my own life back, personally. But it's just like, well, you can just go kill him. Just go kill him. You don't need to defend yourself. You let the other player defend you by buying into you. Buy them. Just buy him. Just kill him. Just get him dead. Ugh.
And bought the wrong player after all that. Now, in this case, probably won't matter.
It shouldn't matter. I mean,
but
the reality is his subsidiary is making him almost $3,000 a second, right? Just throwing it out there.
But in a case where it could matter, you want to buy the person who, considering two relatively equal, get your stock back.
Yeah, just get your stock back. It's okay. It's that simple. Just get all your own stock. Production. It's all good. Because if you look at it, I mean, Swkoll, at this point, Matty needs $830,000 to buy Swkoll. He's never going to get there. Nope. And you can kind of be like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. In this case, it doesn't matter. But let's look at the difference between $850,000 to buy and $1.7 million to buy.
Exactly.
One of those things is attainable, maybe in some games. The other one's not. So I would take that option instead, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Personally. That's just me.
Well, I mean, it increases your odds of winning, so it is the correct call.
That's fair. Swkoll's going to finish it up in just a minute here. We may wait until this off 5 seconds or so.
In this case,
but Matty's going to call out the GG.
In this case, it may have increased the percentage of winning from 99 to 99.5% or something like that, but still increases the percentage of winning.
That's fair. From 99 to 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That 1% is like a DC or something.
Exactly, right? Anyway, that is going to be the game. That was a nice victory to Swkoll.
Yep, well played by Swkoll.
Fought for a little much, but he got it done.
Got it done. Not enough attacks on Swkoll. Swkoll racing ahead on the upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
That was like watching a robot of old when they were the strongest faction in the game.
It was. No, I will say eventually, those prices for black market started to look pretty reasonable, but I'm kind of wondering who was using them the whole time. So let's take a look. Yeah, Swkoll was the one to use the black market the most and used most of the EMPs. A lot of more of those needed to be directed at him early. He can only hit one of the three of you when he's that far ahead. You can all dogpile on him, and you got to be willing to do that. I do like that we did see a circuit overload from Matty eventually, so that didn't go completely unused. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to get much done.
Yeah, Soul 6, a little bit late for that.
And it hit like a bunch of electronics factories and such, but
Yeah, so Swkoll is the only one who gets a pass for not using the black market in the early game, because if you're in the lead,
if you're ahead,
and nobody's punishing you for being ahead, then don't remind them that it exists.
Don't remind them. Exactly, right? If you hit them with an EMP, the only thing they have to do in that moment is think about how much they got hit by an EMP, and they want to do it to someone else.
Yep, but everybody else, though, if ryak could use that, I realized that Swkoll was the threat earlier and had thrown down that black market earlier, then maybe ryak would have been able to catch up and use that expansive advantage.
Yeah, and these have been some good games for a newcomer tournament, especially.
Oh yeah,
it's felt almost like a casual tournament games.
Well,
I was just thinking through that, like looking at stuff, and it's just like,
as the game exists longer, the bar gets higher.